Hey bookworms!
I'm Bookmouse.
And I'm Book Kitty, and this is
our BookNook.
Today we're going to be talking about Book 2 in the Hex Hall series. If you haven't seen our video on Book 1, go ahead and click below on the description. I'll post it for you. So I decided that I wanted to check out Book 2 and figured we'd bring it to y'all. So let's see how the series continues with Sophie and the Prodigium. Just so you know, from this point on, there are spoilers from Book 1 and maybe a few nuanced spoilers from Book 2. So if you haven't seen our video on Book 1 or haven't read the books, you should probably go do that. The link for our video is down below, and the links to purchase Book 1 is on that video description as well for Book 1. So, beyond this point, I'm not responsible. So we leave Book 1, Hex Hall, and Sophie is on her way to Europe.
Yes, to London. She's decided
she wants to go with the removal process.
To try and get rid of her demoness or magic. So she's into the book 1 with telling her mother that she wants to go through the removal.
Because she finds out she's not a witch, and that she's in fact a demon. Which there aren't.
There's not supposed to be any
There's not supposed to be any, and there's very few as it is. Matter of fact, her and her father.
Right. As far as she knows, her and her father, they're it. And there's been some bad history in their family since her great-grandmother or grandmother did whatever she did. So, Demonglass picks up with her getting ready to head to London. And she actually has never really met her father before.
She's never met him. Not even like a little.
She's seen a picture of him. I think she's
got a couple birthday cards.
And I think she may have spoken briefly on the phone with him after one of the incidents.
After one of the incidents, yeah.
So now she's getting ready to go to London. She's meeting her father in person for the first time.
Thankfully, she's allowed to take her roommate and best friend, who happens to be a vampire.
She actually demands that her best friend can go with her. And they kind of jumped on that, oh yeah, sure. Awfully quick.
By the way, she's the only vampire at Hex Hall, so there's that whole
because after the debacle in Book 1, the other vampires left.
Not only that, but like, the Prodigium consists of shifters, witches, and faeries. So the demons and the vampires are considered other. They're considered other than, and so there's that whole play. So that makes me wonder why the council made me wonder why the council so easily let her bring her vampire best friend when she's already an anomaly herself.
Right. And then there's the whole issue with witch betrothals and her finding out that whole story.
I kind of do ship them too, though.
Okay. I will admit that I personally did not finish the book. I did pick it up. I had the intentions to finish it. I got sucked into it pretty quick, but I have had some personal emergencies this week and really have been stretched thin dealing with those. So I only made it about halfway through the book. A good raunchy bar fight. But I fully intend to finish this book, even if I have to do it in the middle of the night, because it is capturing my attention. It is, what?
Oh, the end gets so much better.
Oh, no. Well, but
I won't spoil yet. Don't worry. There's one thing I will not do.
But you do discover that Sophie may not be as unique as she thought she was. And now I'm all, what? How?
Wait,
no.
How? Where did
Yeah, so, yeah, we're totally getting sucked into this book.
Oh, don't worry. You'll find out when you finish.
Okay.
At least that part, but then you'll have more questions.
And then I'm going to have to read
book 3. Because it leaves on another cliffhanger.
Okay, so then we're going to have to get...
Oh, so yeah, totally. I'm totally going through the whole series, and I think we should do videos on this whole series, because I'm totally down for it.
We are completely getting sucked into this story.
And and when I say simple this time, I don't mean it's simple, like, it does have a lot of working parts and a lot of components, but it's simple because it's a teenager Like, the main character's a teenager, and we're, 32 and up. So, like, it's simple in that way, but it's just so, like, oh, I want to know.
It is, but it's also relatable because we've been teenagers. We've been through the high school clique thing and, you know, the popular, the unpopular. This one is just species, not who's got the money and who doesn't. Money has nothing to do with it. And then you have the whole dynamic of human, werewolf, vampire, demon. It doesn't matter.
Everybody has social
and
problems.
kids.
And parents and kids.
Parents and kids relating with each other. And then you have an estranged parent and kid. A kid who has never met her father in person. And now she's having to deal with this authority figure.
Not to mention, less than a year ago, she found out what she was. But
Right.
she found out about this other world. And now she has to go to the center of this world's politics.
Right.
The council, like, the ruling body. You're going from not knowing it exists to less than a year later spending a summer at council headquarters.
Right. Surrounded by everything you've been trying to get away from because it's been overwhelming you. So I have to admit, I really like this series. I know I've been pissy about young adult series in the past. They're for young adults. I'm not a young adult. But this one I like.
I unabashedly love young adult, and I don't even care. I mean, I'm a young adult, new adult writer. That's where my brain sits, and I don't think it's because I'm not that immature. You know me.
No, but if the writing's good.
The writing's good, the stories are compelling, and I think that, I think I said this in our library book haul video, but I think that a lot of people think that young adult books are young adult books because they teach a lesson that people who are becoming adults need to learn. But here's the thing, we keep coming back. Because, I mean, they often explore the, you know, growing up and the social cues and the getting involved in your world and noticing the bigger picture for the first time in our lives. We do that in our late teenage years. And I think a lot of these books kind of touch on that. But in my opinion, young adult books or young adult lessons are still applicable throughout your life. You don't have to be a young adult to relearn that lesson from a new perspective. We keep coming back to the same. So I really enjoy it because I'm like, oh, you know, I learned this when I was 17, but I forgot in life. And now I need to reapply this lesson.
Or even at 17, I saw it this way.
And now I'm seeing it a different way, and now I understand.
Right. You can see all the picture, not just your little piece of it.
So I unabashedly absolutely love young adult novels. And series specifically. I love series. But, back to point, what I do like about the end is you still have all of your main characters in play in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Including the one who ran away at the end of the first book.
Oh. Now, I've already gotten far enough in the book to meet him.
We do get Archer back a little bit. And the first book... The way I'm seeing the flow of the series going is the first book kind of introduces the character. Okay. Much how a singular book would have in the first chapter. The first chapter really introduces to the character. Who is she or he? What are they? And what's the inciting incident? And I think that was the first book. The first book was her introduction into the world. It's her introduction into this new life and who she really is inside. And she starts to explore that. The second book seems to be her getting the same level of understanding about her world that she would have had if she'd already done that discovery part growing up.
Okay.
You know, where she's kind of starting to understand things at a level similar to her peers.
All right.
The beginning part of her journey, the jumping off
point. So, like,
point.
she's catching up to their information.
Right. The end of the second book makes me think that this is the real jump off point for the action. You know, you have all these things in book 1 and book 2 that are leading up to a possible war. And I think book 3 is going to be the beginning of that conflict. And I'm going slowly because I'm being very careful how I word this. So I don't give anything away to anybody. It just ends in such a cliffhanger. Oh, man. When are we going to the library next? I really enjoy Rachel Hawkins' way of developing the story. She's not giving away too much information too early. She's leaving us wanting more, but she's giving us enough to keep us on our edge, keep us interested. Sophie's always learning new things about her world, and that's kind of the easy comes to writing is, your character doesn't know anything because they're new to this world, so you can get away with a little more exposition. We've talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really do that. I mean, she really puts it into the character's will, the character's actions, rather than somebody just explaining a paragraph of this is how politics works. You have Sophie interacting with those characters and asking questions and having her own opinions and things getting in the way of that discussion. And so you're only getting bits and pieces of exposition of the world, of the things that Sophie needs to understand. Much like she's only getting bits and pieces because she's a teenager, so they don't want to tell her everything. She's in a governmental building and she's not on the council yet, and so they don't want to tell her everything. And she's emotional because she's a teenager, so she's not even going to intake all the information she does get presented to her. So it's kind of really put us on the same level as Sophie. And I kind of love that. It does what we all love books to do. It puts me in the character's shoes and makes me forget that I'm actually in a house on Earth in real life. It really puts me in her shoes.
Which means the author's done their job.
Absolutely. 4 paws up.
Yeah. We're getting halfway through, and I'm still getting it.
Thanks for joining us.
Join us next week. We're going to be taking a look at a Robert Heinlein book called Friday.
I've never read Robert Heinlein.
Oh, one of my top 3 favorite authors.
We know. Be sure to check the description below where we list where you can purchase Hex Hall and Demonglass, as well as where to find our previous video about book 1. And we post where you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Goodreads, and Patreon.
Speaking of Patreon, you can now become a patron of our BookNook by choosing one of 3 tiers starting at just $3.
Join us for all sorts of fun shit, like early access to our weekly book review videos,
behind-the-scenes footage and shout-outs,
bloopers, and more. Become a patron at any level and gain access to our all-new exclusive live chat community.
Well, that's all for today. Don't forget to hit that big red button below and ring that bell so you'll get notifications every time we post new content.
We post book review videos every week, Mondays at 2 p.m. Central, and sometimes extras on Tuesdays and or Saturdays.
This has been Book Mouse
and Book Kitty, and we are now
signing off.